Good morning. It's McCollum on Business. I'm Stephen McCollum. For the next 30 minutes or so, I'm going to get you updated on what's happening around the business world. Obviously, the headlines are this Iran U.S. war, oil prices being the biggest contention happening out there in the world right now. We'll get you updated on some threats here coming from the Iranian side here, just a little bit. Of course, we're going to focus on national, local stories you need to know. And then the market watch, what's happening with the stock market today, as it's not been a good time here for the last week and a half overall. Stocks we're paying attention to as well. Again, I'm Stephen McCollum. Let's get it started with that market watch. Whew, man, another day like this, folks. Yes, the market's been open for about 37 minutes now. Dow Jones down 450 points here today. Again, today, oil is rising today, which is causing these issues. We'll talk about that in just a second. S&P 500's down 50 points right now to 67.15 for it. Interesting enough on the Dow Jones, remember when it hit that record of 50,000 about a month or so ago? And now it's down to that 46,950. NASDAQ's down 262 points right now. 22,453. Even that small cap index, the Russell 2K, your screen shows it at 0. I actually show it down here. So there's obviously an issue here with the link. I actually show it down about 38 points right now to that 2506. That is correct there as well. So the links we use with the companies throwing some loops here to us. Maybe they're just even like, what the heck? Even Bitcoin, right? It's basically even today, but it's trading at 70,000 above that, 70,227 for Bitcoin here today. And look, this is just what the market is here lately with this war going on. Today, oil prices, have been up. They go up and then they come back down again later in the day. And a lot of that's stemming from, just the uncertainty happening out there. And as the day goes on, it kind of settles down. Well, the U.S. did come out this morning and say they're not ready to escort tankers through that Strait of Hormuz. And that's obviously not good news for the market, as oil dictates everything. That 20% of oil that goes through that strait, that's what's dominating the market here today, as well as this morning has begun as well. Stocks we're paying attention to right now, well, we got to find some good ones out there with the market the way it is. So we'll look at Hims and Hers Health here first this morning. It's actually down 1.31% here in early market trading. In pre-market, it was up over 5%, but obviously in the last 39 minutes that the market's been open, well, there's been a downturn here in the market. But what happened here is Eli Lilly issued a notice about an impurity in a compounded version of its weight loss drug, and they warned Eli Lilly did of health risks linked to the medicine. Well, Hims and Hers Health, at least earlier in pre-market, was benefiting from this because that means people will turn to their compounded versions that don't have the impurities there. So good news for Hims and Hers. Is up in pre-market. Now it's down 1.51% with this general sell-off happening. Then there's Firefly Aerospace out there. They were up big here this morning. They still are 12.52% as of right now. Firefly Aerospace, well, they said late Wednesday that it's Alpha Flight 7. Well, that it had a successful launch, and that's obviously good news for this company, and they're up that 13% right now on the market. And then let's go to pet care and pet product and services. Let's look at Petco here. Up, look at this, 29.17% here in early market trading for them. They were up 12% in pre-market, so it's continued just to go up here since the market's actually open. They issued better than expected guidance for the first quarter and also for their full year. Petco expects an adjusted EBITDA to come in between $92 and $94 million for the first quarter. Well, the consensus was $91.1 million. So big numbers for Petco. You can see they're only trading at $3 right now, even with a 28% increase in their stock right now. But big increase here for Petco, coming in with surprising numbers for this pet health and wellness company out there. And then, of course, later on, we're going to look at Dollar General, Dick's Sporting Goods, and then Bumble making some waves here on the stock market early this morning as well. So we'll look at all of those stocks here when we come back and look at the market. But first, let's get you updated on kind of the threats and what's happening around oil prices here today as well. This morning, Iran warned the United States that oil prices, well, they could soar to $200 a barrel. Of course, as the U.S. and Israeli escalation strikes continue against Iran, that the whole premise here is it's rattling the global energy markets. So to prevent that from happening, as you know, yesterday we told you. And by the way, if it got anywhere much higher than where it is now, it would be one of the world's worst oil shocks since the 1970s. And I was around in the late 70s for that era, but I don't remember it being 1 to 3 years old. People my age or older obviously remembers what happened back then with the oil embargoes and things. Well, so the Washington yesterday and the International Energy Agency to try to combat these oil prices, they're going to soon release over the next week or so a historic volume of oil from the emergency reserves. That's the one where they're going to release 400 million barrels. All these IEA countries, including the U.S. U.S. alone is going to do 100 million by ourselves as well. If oil prices were to reach $200 a barrel, the average gas price in the United States, well, it would go up above $5 a gallon, according to the analysts out there. As of Wednesday, the national average price for regular gasoline was at $3.57 per gallon. We know we're higher than the national average here in Maricopa County. Rest of Arizona's a little bit around the national average as well here. The threat of $200 a barrel oil, well, it comes after crude prices, went above that $100 for the first time since 2022. It kind of blips up above 100 in the morning and then it falls back down to, an 87, 86, $87 range later on in the day. But it peaked at about $120 a barrel. I think that was Monday or Tuesday. And then it settled around $90 Wednesday due to a brief relief rally that happened yesterday. West Texas Intermediate, that's the crude oil produced here in the United States. Well, that's trading at just under $86 a barrel. So, new threats coming from Iran here in terms of the oil prices. And the interesting thing, a lot of bloviating, of course, you expect from Iran as well, with them fighting back and trying to run a proxy war there. But oil prices, yes, the word is it's $120 a barrel at times in trading. Yesterday it hit 110, I believe, and then came back down to the low 90s. There's large fluctuations, including this morning. Oil prices this morning with the news that U.S. is not ready to escort tankers through that Strait of Hormuz. Well, oil prices are up again this morning, pushing that $100 a barrel as of right now. I'm looking up the exact pricing right now. West Texas Intermediate right now is at $94 per barrel. Brent crude is up $99 a barrel right now as well. And it has briefly touched 100 here this morning. So no surprise there with the news of we're not ready to escort any of these tankers through that market. So oil, it continues to be the fluctuation here on the U.S. economy. And then, with all the war stuff happening in the oil side, well, the Trump administration hasn't turned its attention away from tariffs out there. The Trump administration yesterday unveiled two new trade investigations and it spans 60 countries. It could result in more tariffs or other remedies if the U.S. finds fair trade practices were violated after a lot of these agreements that were made. The investigations, and in terms of government stuff, investigations are formal, investigations by government agencies to determine whether certain imports are harming domestic industries or national security. That's the investigation that they're looking into here. Well, they're being initiated under Section 301 of the Trade Act of 1974. That allows the president to levy tariffs against nations that discriminate against U.S. firms or commerce. These investigations are being run by the U.S. Trade Representative's Office. They're going to examine whether the exporting countries employ excess capacity and production in manufacturing sectors, and whether other trading partners ban imports of goods made with forced labor. things like that's things that the U.S. does. So are other countries saying, "Ah, we'll take it if it's forced labor"? The investigations are coming because the Supreme Court, of course, struck down the use of that emergency economic powers to impose those tariffs. Well, since then, the president has initiated a 10% global tariff. He's vowed to raise it to 15% under that new section, Section 122. That's available for 150 days, and then the president can actually renew it after that. Is what they believe they can do. Well, they intend to wrap up this new investigation before the Section 122 tariffs expire as well. So, looking into these countries to make sure after these deals were done under the emergencies that nothing has changed on it. So tariffs continue to be part of the national conversation here in the economy as well. But it's not all, we got all these global, geopolitical, we've got the Middle East situation, we've got the tariff situation happening. We have our own problems here at home as well that we're dealing with. And another example of that is Florida. And not just Florida in general. I know a lot of people right now watching just went, yeah, it's Florida. What do you expect? Well, they're facing its worst drought in 25 years, and that's intensifying the pressure on a citrus industry that has already been through the world and back here with disease, the hurricanes that happen in Florida, and of course, all the rising costs that are happening throughout the United States. So we've seen the snowpack in Utah and the Colorado Rockies, in Colorado also affecting a lot of industries and snowpack and snow melt happening that isn't going to happen this year. Now, over in Florida, we're having fruit issues as well. According to the U.S. Drought Monitor, 100% of the state of Florida is experiencing some level of drought. More than 75% of Florida is in extreme drought conditions. This dry spell is adding new financial strain for growers who do rely heavily on irrigation, of course, to sustain their crops. Florida accounts for 17% of the nation's citrus production. And we get that number from the Florida Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services. For many communities, the industry remains a key economic driver there in Florida. Back in 2000, well, Florida's citrus industry covered over 800,000 acres. Today, as of right now, well, that industry, well, it's fallen to just over 200,000 acres in Florida as well. That's according to the U.S. Department of Agriculture. That reflects years of disease pressure, storm damage, and now you've got these drought conditions coming in. Now, will that shrink it even more? So our citrus pricing is being putting pressure on as well here in these industries out there. So, like right now, no matter where we turn, we really just can't get any relief out there at some point or another. And another one is I'm going to give you this story from California. I got two of them coming from California, but one of them, well, it's an important thing to pay attention to. One, if you're flying into LAX and you use Uber, Lyft, or any ride sharing services there. But two, well, it could bleed here into Phoenix Sky Harbor as well here, and and this just basically comes down to at Los Angeles International Airport, there LAX. If you take an Uber or Lyft, well, your ride's going to cost more here coming up. The Los Angeles Board of Airport Commissioners, they came out this week and they approved an increase in rideshare fees. So it raises the fee from $4 to as much as $12 per trip. And obviously, Uber and Lyft are not happy about this. And Uber sent a warning out that this will affect both drivers and riders at the same time. Under the new plan, rideshare vehicles will pay a $6 base fee to enter LAX. Pay attention to that, to enter LAX. An additional $6 fee will be applied for pickups or drop offs at the airport's central terminal area. $12 there, folks. That's just to enter the service center. That doesn't that of course gets passed on to you, the consumer. Right now, rideshare companies pay about $4 per pickup or drop off. Taxi companies pay $4 for pickups. Limousines pay $5. This is what's weird about this. Uber and Lyft have to pay for drop offs and pickups, which of course gets passed along to you, the consumer. Taxis and limos at LAX, they're not charged for drop offs, but Uber and Lyft is. Airport officials say the higher fees are meant to reduce traffic congestion and encouraged travelers to use the airport's new Skylink automated people mover there in LAX once it opens as well. So, why that's a big deal? Obviously, it's going to cost more to get an Uber or Lyft there. One, but yeah, they want you to use their light rail. And what do we have here at Phoenix Sky Harbor? We have a SkyTrain here as well. So that's one way to force people into that to get off of premises and onto the light rail system to their destination and then pick up a car, etc. So just one, right? Summer's coming, spring break's happening right now. If you're over there in California and flew into LAX, now it's not in effect now, but it's coming. But just heads up here for summer months. You might have to budget a little bit more out there. And another California story. When a lot of big companies are leaving California. A lot of oil refineries are closing up shop and getting out there. A lot of headquarters being moved right now. A lot of them to Florida, for instance. We've talked about that, especially in the tech side of things. And now it's official. Yamaha Motor Co. Motor Company. Well, it's relocating its U.S. headquarters from California, and they're moving it to Georgia officially now. They moved there in 1979, and that means that they've been there for nearly half a century there in California. The company announced late last month that it's going to move their corporate headquarters to the this is the U.S. entity of their corporate headquarters. They're going to move them from Cypress, California to Kennesaw, Georgia. It did add that the relocation will occur incrementally by business function. Starting in late 2026, it's expected to conclude and be completely out of California by late 2028. Yamaha said in the announcement that its move is undertaking structural reforms aimed at improving the profitability of its U.S. operations in response to cost increases resulting from U.S. tariffs and changes in the market environment. They're basically saying California's too expensive for them to operate in, and they can get cheaper elsewhere. If you don't know, Yamaha manufactures ATVs, boat engines, personal watercraft, those types of motorized products out there. They're obviously known for their motorcycles, but motorcycles are actually not produced here in North America, whereas the other items are out there. So, like I said, they've been in Cyprus since 1979. They did relocate its marine business to Kennesaw, Georgia back in 1999. Now the headquarters portion is moving there as well. Its motorsports business was moved to Georgia back in 2019. So the manufacturing's already moved out. This California office houses mostly corporate functions and the financial services business of Yamaha as well. So another big company officially picking up and moving to another state here out of California with everything happening over there. And for those of you that like the prediction markets out there, and I'm talking, of course, about Kalshi right now, you know, uh, there was a big lawsuit earlier. Is Kalshi a betting site? Is it not a betting site? Is it allowed legally by state regulations? And they won those lawsuits. They were able to go out as a company with Kalshi. Well, Tide's, Tide is kind of turning on them a little bit here, and specifically in Ohio, and this will feed to other states as well, because an Ohio federal judge came out this week and said she's obligated to avoid absurdity. It was her wording there, and she ruled that Kalshi's prediction markets in sports, well, she said it basically is gambling in the sports side of things, and she said that it should come under state regulations for gambling. Kalshi is based out of New York. That's where the initial lawsuits were coming from and everything. If you don't know what it is, it's where users can put money down to receive payouts on pretty much everything out there, right? Not just athletics, but who's winning an election, what's the weather going to be on Tuesday? Are we going to hit 100 degrees for the first time in the middle of March? Those types of things, world events, etc. You can prediction any of that stuff. Well, they asked the court for an injunction against the Ohio Casino Control Commission. Well, the regulatory body wants to stop Kalshi from operating as an unlicensed sports book that is facilitating bookmaking in the state of Ohio. Kalshi said its sports offerings should be treated as federally regulated swaps. Swaps are a type of contract often found in financial investing. U.S. District Judge, well, she disagreed on this with her ruling yesterday. She said swaps are understood as a transaction involving financial instruments and its measures and traditionally and directly affect commodity prices. Currency exchange rates, she said, the weather, the energy costs, well, all do that. The number of points scored in a Huskies Bobcat game does not, however. Like I said, keep in mind, she's talking specifically about the sports betting side of Kalshi right now. Yeah, she went on to say the conclusion is further supported by the court's obligation to avoid absurdity. Ohio argues that the absurd results would flow from defining a swap to include a sports event contract, and the court agrees with the state of Ohio, is what she had said there. So Kalshi, like I said, the other stuff she's deemed as perfectly legal. It's the sports betting side of it. So if you like Kalshi, if you pay attention to Kalshi on that, just a heads up that some changes could be coming here based off of this Ohio ruling coming up here. And let's go back to the broader economy here because we are getting some studies out there right now. Healthcare costs, as everybody knows, are through the roof right now. And now we have for sure know that roughly one third of Americans actually cut back on food, utilities, but not only those two specific items, but other daily expenses, all to pay for health care in 2025. This comes from a study from the West Health Gallup Center, and it came out yesterday, or early this morning, actually, is when this came out. Obviously, steeper prices and rising living costs are hitting households at astronomical levels. They've come down this over this last few months, but now we're obviously seeing a big blip again up. The nationally and state representative survey of about 20,000 U.S. adults, all 50 states, including D.C., well, it was conducted from June to August of 2025. What it found was, came out this morning, what it found was 33% of respondents have made at least one trade off in daily expenses in order to pay for their health care. It's far more common among Americans who do not have health insurance, by the way. 62% of those surveyed saying they have made at least one sacrifice to pay for health care. 32% who had to borrow money for health care costs, and 24% who had prolonged their current medication because of the costs as well with it. Among those with insurance, close to 3 in 10 have made at least one sacrifice, according to the survey. Most Americans with private health insurance, they're paying higher premiums, as we all know, and even steeper out-of-pocket costs here in 2026. That includes millions of people in the government subsidized, of course, access, or I'm sorry, the Affordable Care Act, the Obamacare plans. Then your company ones are way up as well this year. In another survey of 5,660 U.S. adults, and this was collected through Gallup's specific panel between October and December last year. This 5,556 people, they reported having delayed a life event or even changed the life event within the past 4 years due to healthcare costs. So this would be things like buying a new home, taking a vacation, a new car. Put that off there because of healthcare being the reason why they didn't do that. Nearly 9% of the respondents of this specific survey also brought out this morning. They postponed their retirement due to healthcare costs. Twice as many reported delaying a job change because of healthcare costs as well. So healthcare costs are big costs in this economy and affecting people's lives. I'll argue on the negative side, as they are making sacrifices and not doing things they want to do because of those healthcare costs out there. And we're seeing actual data here from 2025 of how much that healthcare cost is really affecting people out there. When we come back here at McCollum on Business, we keep it rolling. We'll look at the market watch again. Again, stocks that we're paying attention to, some retail stocks, Dollar General, Dick's Sporting Goods. And we'll look at Bumble as well, making some waves this morning on the market. All that, plus a couple local stories coming your way. We do have a new report out there on solar installation and where Arizona ranks. We'll talk about that. So come on back. McCollum on Business. And we're back here, McCollum on Business, Thursday edition. Appreciate you joining us here. You just saw the commercial there for The Real Matrix. Fridays, one more day here, and we'll get the new episode out here of The Real Matrix. It's another pandemic episode here. Of course, opens up 10 a.m. here on Robat TV on demand. Check that out tomorrow on Friday. At noon, it hits Rumble, where you can find the free versions of the show. It's the same show, just free version put up into two parts there on Rumble. Then in all the podcast form as well, it gets posted at noon on all your favorite podcasting systems: Apple, Google, Spotify, iHeart, etc. Just search The Real Matrix, Angry Patriot. It'll pop right up for you, of course. The production company side of what we do here, TME Media, they're on Rumble is what you can search for, or The Real Matrix, Angry Patriot. It'll pop up on Rumble for you there as well. Of course, follow TME Media AZ on Twitter. And you will put excerpts out and, of course, links to not just Rumble, but the podcast versions of the show. We just started that up. We're kind of working out the kinks on posting on that, getting that done here, and we'll have that out for you as well. Of course, as soon as we're done here, we get this show up on demand there at Robat TV. We appreciate everybody catching us live as you do. And then, of course, on the YouTube channel as well. We need to get people up on that there. Like and subscribe. TME Media AZ is where you can find that on YouTube. All of our production shows are on there, except for The Real Matrix right now. We're going to do something different there. YouTube, doesn't like some of the programming. But we're going to do something different and get The Real Matrix up and make more sense there. But you can catch Pit Stop, which is up now. We recorded this week's episode yesterday on demand on YouTube here at Robat TV as well. Look back at Phoenix and ahead, of course, this weekend to Las Vegas and Arlington for IndyCar. On now at the YouTube channel. Like and subscribe there, TME Media AZ. Of course, free podcast systems for the main event at TME Sports Show. Just search the main event with Steven on your favorite podcast system. Follow him on X as well, TME Sports Show. The Pit Stop Talk on X. Just search the Pit Stop with Steven on your favorite podcast system. Pops up as well. Also, like, subscribe the YouTube channel, folks, as we're rocking and rolling here. We do production for some other shows that we don't put out here. For instance, John Holmberg's sports podcast. We produce that here, but goes out, of course, on the radio stations pages and things of that effect. They promote that. We just do the work here. They send it out there. So we do a lot of work like that with a bunch of other with a bunch of shows and things. We'd like to work with you as well if you, of course, want to get into this or you already have an existing show. We've grown. We got plenty of open time for you here. So even though time is filling up, it's getting open. Contact us. We'd love to work with you out there. And with all that being said, let's get right into that Market Watch. I mean, nothing's changed. The story that U.S. saying that they're not ready to escort any tankers through the Strait of Hormuz yet. The United States isn't ready to do that. Iran has now said here this morning that they will keep the Strait of Hormuz shut. They're already trying to mine it. There's some mines out there. They did destroy a bunch of mines. The U.S. did. So that means markets have gotten worse here throughout the day because oil prices have jumped with Iran saying they're going to keep that Strait of Hormuz shut. Dow Jones down 567 points right now. S&P 500 down 70 points. The Nasdaq's down 358 points right now, and then the Russell 2K is actually down to 16 points, as you see there on your screen. Bitcoin is even falling here with that news. It's under 70,000, 69,815, and this all comes down to getting that Strait of Hormuz back open so tankers can come and go in that area. Iran's new supreme leader, as I just said, Strait of Hormuz must remain closed as, quote, tool to pressure enemy, unquote, is what they are doing right now. Brent oil has officially gone over $100 after the new supreme leader said that there in Iran here just a few minutes ago as well. 3 more ships have been attacked there in the Persian Gulf as well. So, we told you that first story. They're threatening to get gas prices up to $200 a barrel, or at least oil prices. This is how they're going to do it. Choke off the Strait of Hormuz, choke off the ships being able to move around, attacking those ships, and that's going to drive this up, but it's obviously causing a lot of pressure here on the United States markets. Stocks we're paying attention to first up will be Dollar General here. And with this giant sell off, things that were positive are now going to be negative. Things that were negative already, like Dollar General, they were down 5% earlier today. Well, it's down 8% now because there's a sell off happening. Well, they issued underwhelming full year guidance, Dollar General did. They expect earnings per share between $7.10 and $7.35. Analysts expected $7.25. So they're still within that guidance, but they did lower it down. The company, Dollar General, also sees same store sales growth between 2.2 and 2.7%. Dollar General was down about 5% earlier in trading. Now, with the sell off happening with the oil situation announcements, well, it's down 7.86% right now. And then there's Dick's Sporting Goods. Earlier today, it was up 3%. Hey, it's still up 2.37% right now. They posted their fourth quarter results. Dick's Sporting Goods did. Well, to beat analyst expectations out there. They earned an adjusted $3.45 per share. The expectation was only $2.87 per share. Big beat there for Dick's Sporting Goods. They came in with revenue of $6.23 billion. The expectation was only $6.07 billion. Huge number beat here by Dick's Sporting Goods. They're up, even with this sell off happening, still 2.09% as of right now. And then finally, we're going to look at Bumble here as well. Now, this was an impressive up earlier. Okay, it's still an impressive up right now. We're just an hour into market trading today. I was wondering if this was going to come down at all here with the sell off happening. Now, they trade at $3.82, so I'm not going to get crazy about this dollar increase, but they are up 36.27% as of right now. They reported strong EBITDA and revenue results for its fourth quarter. Its first quarter adjusted EBITDA guidance also beat analyst consensus expectations. It's all good numbers here for of course, the online dating service there, Bumble, that company, and their stock is up 36.44% based off of all of that good news out there. And now, with lots of uncertainty out there in terms of the oil market and that, and we could talk about that for a whole hour here on this show, but I'd like to spread it around because I know it's a big part of the economy, huge part of the economy right now, but there's a lot of things affecting out there. And this is an interesting new survey out there and a new report from a company called Wood Mackenzie and the Solar Energy Industries Association. It sounds like a band there, right? With these two groups getting together and doing a report. Well, this report shows that Arizona actually installed a record amount of solar capacity last year in 2025. It's not only did Arizona install a record amount, it's fascinating to see what other states had done. Arizona added nearly 2 gigawatts of solar panel, so that total amount statewide is about 11.5 gigawatts. What does that mean? Because I just say those numbers, and if you're like me, you go, okay, is that a lot? Well, to put it in perspective, APS's biggest peak demand last year, well, it was more than 8.5 gigawatts for APS's peak demand time frame. The gains were the largest among utilities, followed by residential and commercial sectors. Of course, utilities installing those big solar farms out in the middle of the deserts right now as well. So it was utilities, residential, commercial in those orders for the gains. Arizona did add that record amount, but this is what's interesting. The rest of the nation actually saw a decline in solar installation throughout the whole rest of the United States. Obviously, President Trump's administration, he signed his major tax and spending bill. It gutted those incentives for clean energies and those tax cuts for clean energies, which is where a lot of people abandoned it because it wasn't being subsidized. But Arizona did not. We kept rolling there with the solar panel installation here in Arizona. And if you're out in Mesa here and you like to get involved with virtual reality, well, there's a new virtual reality entertainment company opening up a site over there in Mesa. It's called Sandbox VR. Yes, this is now officially opened over there in Mesa. It's the first Arizona venue for this company. They have additional state locations, ready and scheduled to open up over the next year as well. The one over here in Mesa, well, it's open and it arrives amid a global growth surge for the company. Sandbox VR has surpassed 5 million players, 80 locations throughout the world, has nearly 150 franchise units in development as well. The company reported $200 million dollars in accumulated, sales as of April 2025. That's up from 75 million in 2024. This is the growth level of this company. More than half of its new openings over the past year have been in Europe, and it operates 19 venues across 6 countries over there in Europe. The company's technology, well, it uses full body motion capture and haptic feedback to immerse groups in interactive experiences. Things like licensed content from Netflix properties, things like Stranger Things, Squid Game, as where you can do some virtual reality stuff with and play with. The company has raised more than $138 million dollars from investors and high profile investors as well. I saw Katy Perry, Justin Timberlake have invested in this company. Bookings right now for the Sandbox VR is now open for groups of 2 to 6. Private sessions are available there as well. If you're interested in VR and want to kind of check it out, there you go. It's over in Mesa. Check it out. Go to Sandbox VR and pop right up for you. And, looks intriguing. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't know what the cost is. I'm sure it's probably more expensive than we think it is, but sounds like an exciting little thing to do for an afternoon out there. And folks, I don't know about you, but I love me some ranch. I just do. Not all ranch. Some ranch is gross. Some ranches, most ranch is good, but there's some gross ones out there, depending on how it's made. But I think I found my dream job. No, we talk about the Wiener Mobile all the time, how fun that would be. That's not a dream job. That'd just be fun to do. Well, now I think I might have followed my calling. So one day, if I'm not here, folks, it's because I've gotten one of these job openings from Hidden Valley. Yes. Now, these jobs are going to be in their Ranch Ambassador department. Yes, they have a department called Ranch Ambassador. So, in honor of National Ranch Day coming up on was on March 10th, 2 days ago, I should say. And obviously, this year's America's 250th birthday. The brand's looking to hire 4 ranch lovers for a quote flavor quest. Here's the thing, though. I don't understand why it matters that they're doing it for America because this job, you can go on a flavor quest across Europe this summer, folks. Yes, I will apply. Today, the brand announced that Hidden Valley Ranch Ambassador Program. It's a once in a lifetime opportunity for ranch lovers to spread the flavor of America abroad and also get paid while you're doing it. All expenses paid, by the way. Ranch dressing is a distinctly American creation, is what they say in this release. They say it was invented here, perfected here, obsessed over here in the United States. They did all this in a news release. They went on to say, yet much of the world has never experienced the zesty flavor Americans hold near and dear to their plates. So, according to Hidden Valley, ranch ambassadors will be paid to pair the OG ranch dressing with local dishes and then document the 7-week adventure abroad. They actually said this in the press release. It's a real job with real pay and a very real excuse to put ranch on everything. From Italian pizzas to British fish and chips, they'll see how well America's favorite ranch fuses with European specialties. Applications for Hidden Valley's ranch ambassadors, well, it opens up on Tuesday, March 31st, according to them. Consider throwing your hat in the ring if you are outgoing, culturally curious, with the passion for food, travel, storytelling, and content creation. Yes, part of the requirement is you have to put a lot of stuff out on social media about your travels and stuff like that. I think I found my dream job. Yeah, we'll see how that goes. Hey, appreciate you joining me here from McCollum on Business here on this Thursday edition. The main event's coming up next, folks. Come and join us, of course. Uncle Lou comes in on Thursday, so join us there. Of course, catch all of our programming on demand. TME Media AZ on YouTube, TME Media on Rumble, and of course, your favorite podcast systems for your shows. See you tomorrow, everybody. Have a great Thursday night.